everyone, once again. I hope yous are back. If not, you're new or whatever. Doesn't matter, you're listening anyway. You're listening to The Big Picture, and it's myself, once again, people's champion of The Big Picture podcast, as per our Twitter poll, that you can find on @_The Big Picture, along with our Instagram _The Big Picture. And the people's champion, it's something that I hold to great pride, and our champion of our last episode, I'm sure he holds that to great pride. He's the oldest of our podcast. I'm pretty sure that he won't let a little kid help him cross the porch as well, cross the road, just cross anything, to be honest. It's the Carl Fredrickson of the Big Picture podcast, Stewart Fitzgerald. How we doing?
I am not above child murder to get what I want.
Jesus. What is the start of this episode?
It's the perfect kind of opening for a whole episode on kids' films. But thank you for that lovely
Sound like more like
introduction.
An intro to the movie.
I'm apparently some ancient entity. But thank you, Jack. Not the people's champion for long. I think this is going to be a very upsetting episode for a lot of people, but probably myself included. But yeah, can't wait.
I think we'll all laugh, we'll all cry, we'll be raging when all our pictures are the exact same. But we'll talk about what we're actually pitching in a minute. But next, he is the Dwight Schrute to my Michael Scott. He is the Barney Stinson to my Ted Mosby. He is the Buzz Lightyear to my Woody. He is Adam Verkevich. How are we doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you, Jack? You alright?
I'm very well. I'm very excited. I think this is probably the episode I'll be most excited for, besides Sea of Thieves, but we'll forget that episode's happening. So.
Yeah, I think this is a good episode. I think everyone can get involved. It's our farthest reaching episode, and I hope that the audience enjoy it.
I'm sure they will. Next up, he's the resident asthmatic of the Big Picture podcast, and much like the resident asthmatic of this movie, maybe should just belong on the top shelf and only appear for one episode. He is the Wheezy of the Big Picture podcast, is Rhys Cook.
Wow. What? How long have you been working on that one?
Oh, mate, I've took 2 weeks to prepare for this. Don't worry.
Well, I'm very excited to be here, but don't really feel like I'm welcome. I just want to apologise as well. They're doing works outside my house, and they've made no noise all day. And at 3 o'clock, or it's 3:15 right now. At 3 o'clock, all of a sudden they just started bashing metal together. So if anyone hears anything in the background, it's pricks. Anyway, nice to be here.
Good. I'm glad you got that off your chest. But last but not least, he's probably our guy that plays video games the most. Maybe it could just be because he spends most of his time playing his games. Maybe he's got small arms as well. Maybe he can defeat the evil Emperor Zurg. Maybe he is the Rex, the Big Picture podcast that is Lewis Jameson.
What? Who hurt you?
Wait, which Pixar character was I meant to be then?
The serial killer, obviously. Everyone remembers that.
Apparently, I'm just time. Apparently, I'm just like the aging entity of each movie. I don't understand who I'm going to be.
You just didn't get one. That was it. I was to be honest, I was on Xbox with Adam last night, and I was trying to think I want to call you the Little Miss Bo Peep of the Big Picture podcast, but I couldn't think of anything properly to get it along with. So,
fair enough.
But I mean, I guess you've probably gathered by listening to the horrible intros that I just did that we are doing not just exclusively Toy Story. We're doing our episode on Disney Pixar, and more specifically, I'm going to get the boys to big pitch their own Disney crossover movie. This is something that is it's quite common. It's a commonality, I'd say. Maybe not for one of my panel. We'll get him on some in a minute. That there's this theory about, or an Easter egg type thing, that all the Disney Pixar movies are related to each other. For example, in Toy Story, when they go to Pizza Planet, they stop at a petrol station. That petrol station is a Dynaco petrol station, and that is the winning car sponsor of the Piston Cup in the movie Cars. Rhys Cook, you've not as you were talking about this on the group chat, and you said yourself you weren't too familiar with this theory. After hearing that, and you've went and kind of looked up some stuff as well. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I watched a video on it. It was about a 20-minute video, and it was explaining the full theory, and it's crazy. Like, I couldn't believe how everything fitted together. I mean, obviously, this is like a fan theory, and it's kind of been run with, but I couldn't believe it. All the different times that they were all set in. So, like, I think the theories that I watched anyway said that Bug's Life was like the start of a new like world, and A Bug's Life is set in 2898 after everything had happened, and Wall-E was the like before that. And honestly, I couldn't believe it. I was watching it, and I was like, I don't think I was taking it in because there was so much detail to it. So I was totally baffled.
It's a quite a nice thing to think that. I hope it is the case, because I do like all the Easter eggs connecting to each other, and that's what makes this episode of The Big Picture plausible. I think that there is this chance to have these crossover movies, and I know that Adam, you are one that's quite well versed in this day. You know a lot about yourself. How would you go about explaining this to people now?
Wow, big task. Rhys wanted 20-minute video and he was still confused, and you're asking me to lay it all out.
Explaining a 9/11 conspiracy theory than this.
Right.
What is going on in this episode? I don't know.
Hang on a minute. Where's 9/11 in the Pixar universe? I don't understand. I've not watched this video.
Right. There's no 9/11 as far as I'm aware, unless it happened off camera, perhaps. The easiest way to explain it, it's a tough one. We'll say, so Brave is obviously the first one, technically, in the timeline. That's the very first Pixar film chronologically. And the witch in that starts making animals more intelligent because she's turning humans into animals. That's one of the theories. And that's why we get Finding Nemo. It's why we get, I've forgotten all the films that have intelligent animals. Someone fill me in.
Finding Nemo,
Ratatouille, The Good Dinosaur,
Ratatouille. That's on. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Ratatouille, and then from that they say that Charles Muntz, the villain in Up, you see he heard about this. That's why he was trying to get the thoughts of his dogs with the collars, if anyone remembers that. It's little things like that are intricate, and then obviously the biggest thing is, like Rhys says, that Bug's Life is in the future, and it's the start of the new world. And when you look at it, and it's what's crazy is that I've read a lot of fan theories for different things. I've read a lot of books that have ambiguous endings, TV series, films. So there's plenty of fan theories I've read through. I get to the end of everyone, and I'm just like, okay, it sounds good, but but the Pixar theory is the only fan theory I've ever read. I've read it all the way through. I've looked at the evidence, and I actually thought I can't pick holes in that. That's solid. So logically you just go, it has to be true, or at least it's almost too much of a coincidence for all these things to be there and for it not to be true.
Just when you were saying that, and I was going to go with Stewart next year, I called you Carl from Up. That's what I called you as.
Oh yeah.
Oh, did you?
So you just, I mean, it makes more sense. You're so no forgetful prick. Sorry.
I thought it was because my wife died.
Wait,
okay.
Jack, you've totally missed who was the last week's fan's favourite? Who was the fan's favourite?
I said that at the start as well.
He said that.
I wanted to pick up on it. I'm totally out of the loop here. I wanted to pick up on it because it was 1-by-1 vote, and I, as everyone is aware, I voted for Stewart last week, and I was torn between Stewart and Jack. But in the poll, I voted for Jack purely on the basis that Stewart would refused to put it as LTMs because he didn't want to be down with the kids. He wanted new game modes. So for that reason only, I voted for Jack. So your own demise, Stuart.
LTMs, the kids these days, they're too busy abbreviating, and you can't abbreviate life. That's what I say.
But you can abbreviate limited time multiplayer modes.
but they weren't going to be limited time. My pitch was, we're not getting into this. Last week is done. Last week is done, and I won.
Anyway, back to you, Jack.
I will not contest my own victory.
So Stuart, you're an old man. You've grown up with Pixar the most, and you've probably been able gone to the cinema to see most of these movies during their time. How long did it take for you to pick up on these kind of subtle Easter eggs of the movies that they're all kind of connected, quote unquote?
I don't know exactly when. The first Pixar movie I remember going to see in the cinema was Monsters Inc. And I think the first Easter egg I noticed is the Pizza Planet, like the actual logo or the car. So that seems to be the one that I've only that, and that is it A113, which is always kind of used. That's something to do with, that's a reference to like I don't know if it's like the design studio or something where like Pixar kind of came from its inception. I personally don't know much about this Pixar theory. I just read on it when it was obviously being brought up in the chat. I was like, I'll give it a peruse, and I'll just say I don't buy it. I'm not happy about this theory for two reasons. One, I feel like it worked. I feel like it does work, but only when Pixar didn't have that many films. I feel like there's a nice through line, but I feel like that through line was probably discovered maybe 5 to 10 years ago, and Pixar keeps kind of adding films because obviously they're not thinking about this theory because it doesn't exist, but they're thinking that like we'll just put out a film regardless of what that does to it. It's a nice theory, and I don't dispute that somebody's not put a lot of time about it, and I'll tell you exactly who created it: the director for Brave, because I will not stand to have a theory that makes one of its worst Pixar movies one that started it all.
Sorry.
I'm fairly certain that this.
Brave is poor.
The director for Brave was annoyed at everybody's reviews and their thoughts, so he said, "I'm going to make this Pixar movie the Pixar movie. This is the one. This is Pixar's Iron Man." You know, and then it just went from there. That's my views on this theory.
So Adam, I'll cut to you quick before I get to Lewis. You seem to have taken great offence to the fact that Stewart has blighted the name Brave.
I think Brave's a great film. I think it's got everything. It's got good plot. So, it's not, I'm not going to say groundbreaking in terms of originality, but at the same time, very enjoyable film, good themes. And I don't know if maybe Stewart just feels like he's making a point of not liking it because he's Scottish and it's set in Scotland.
That's why I don't like it.
I demand, as a Scottish native, I demand a better Pixar movie than Brave. I will not let the world have Scotland be known for Brave.
See, to be fair, I do like Brave, but I think Pixar are also better than Brave.
Brave's coming in for heat. To say.
Lewis, what's your take on Brave?
I enjoyed it. I get that a lot of people maybe don't like it as much, but of all the films that they've made, Brave is probably the most niche in terms of its setting. And I think that's probably why it didn't go over so well, is because it is Scotland and it's very specific Scottish. Whereas you look at Cars and stuff like that, there's no regionality to it that you can't relate to it. Whereas Brave, not that we can relate to being a teenage girl in a medieval kingdom with a mother that's a bear, but there's an element of, that's us, we can see it. And that's why we maybe like it more than other people do. I think it's more of a region thing than actually the film itself being critically bad, because it's not critically bad.
That is fair enough, to be fair. It is an enjoyable movie, but it's probably, as you say, it's maybe pretty niche in the folk who would enjoy it a lot. But the pictures we'll come on to in a wee bit, but I want to go around you all and just kind of find out what your favourite Pixar movie is and why you enjoy it so much. We can get a bit of conversation going about the group here. So, Lewis, I'll come to you first, as we just ended with you there. What's your favourite Disney Pixar movie?
It's a tough one for me. I've always been a bigger Disney fan than Disney Pixar. That's something that I want to appease the internet with right now. We are very aware of the difference between Disney Pixar, and Pixar, but we're just focused on Disney Pixar here. But I'd probably say my favorite is probably A Bug's Life. I remember owning it on video and just constantly watching it, constantly being enamored by the story, the characters. Granted, I was a bit younger back then, so anything colourful was probably quite appeasing to me. But that's the first movie that I kind of really fell for out of the Disney Pixar universe.
A Bug's Life was just, it was so ahead of its time. I loved it so much. The story, like, being, for some reason I felt so sucked into this kind of story and the meanings that, like, of what it was, the kind of, what we did at university. It was like social sciences and that. We know a lot about the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, so you could argue about the grasshoppers with the bourgeoisie making the bugs, the flicks of the world, the proletariat, gather the food for them to make them feed well. It was quite...
Oh my gosh.
Very good, Comrade Jack, thank you.
What is enlightenment?
Why? Who knows?
That's one thing that I think Disney Pixar should get a lot of credit for, is their movies have purpose and meaning behind them. Not to get too philosophical or sociological behind it, but it does show you the power of the collective and of a community against injustice. Not necessarily about a capitalist government and you have to overthrow them. We're not going to go that far, but it's like if something's going wrong in your community, if you band together, you can instill change. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people can resonate with.
Stuart, what was your take on A Bug's Life? Obviously, it's a kind of, I think it was maybe one of the first ones when Disney and Pixar banded together. I can't entirely remember to be exact, but it's still an enjoyable movie nonetheless, and it's probably the start of where you got even the wee shorts and the start of the connections between different movies as well.
Absolutely. A Bug's Life is... I remember I watched A Bug's Life this year because I watched a YouTube video. I can't remember. This is even before the podcast came about. I was watching a YouTube video and it was just in my suggested feed and it was ranking all the Pixar movies, or I was giving them a grade out of 10. And the guy got to Bug's Life and he rated it a 4 out of 10. I stopped watching the video because that is just that's Brave territory right there.
Yeah. Do you remember what you did, Brave?
Cheap shot.
Brave's not a 4 out of 10. I'll say it's not a 4 out of 10.
3 out of 10.
But
I'll tell you this now, Brave was number 2 for me, so it's definitely not a 3 out of 10.
I love A Bug's Life. Bug's Life's great. Like Lewis said, and this is a common theme throughout a lot of the Pixar movies. Like, there's so much going on. There's so that a kid with like different class systems and everything like that, and animal survival and everything like that, and the strong preying on the weak, and is just such a great film. It's a great laugh as well. Like a lot of these Pixar movies, you can put them on and have a great time, but the echelon of Bug's Life and other movies that we'll no doubt get onto, there's that leap from a good time to a good time that makes you think, especially for like little kids, is great, and it's encouraging them. So yeah, definitely Bug's Life. I applaud Lewis's choice there.
Is that your favourite choice as well for a movie of Pixar?
I'll never tell. Well, you find in a couple of minutes.
I'm asking you right now. Is that your favourite movie?
Oh, right. No, it's not.
Come
it's
on.
Not. I thought you were going to ask somebody else.
We discussed it.
We've got a script, ladies and gentlemen.
We prepared script and still.
No, it's not my favourite. It was something I considered, but I had to go through a lot of movies to try and find my favourite. But my favourite is definitely WALL-E. WALL-E is such a good film. Like, it's very relevant today. It came out over 10 years ago, and it's still very, regarding environmentalism, climate change, corporations and how they can grow too big and have too much power, and how they can influence like culture and what the damage they can do if they're left unchecked. But above all that, you can take all that because it is, at its core, it's just a genuinely nice film. Like, it's this great little love story between two robots, and like for the first half of this movie, there's barely any dialogue, if any, at all, and it's fantastically you're like enraptured by it. It's so rare to find a film that deals with such heavy topics like climate change and everything, but has them take a backseat to the main story, which I said is just this really enjoyable, lovely, cute, heartfelt story between these two robots. I love it. WALL-E's my favourite.
Go figure that your favourite's the same as your girlfriend's.
Oh.
She likes that film because of me, and I'm sure, because she had some questionable choices before we started going out.
Brave.
Maybe.
Rhys, something that Stewart picked up on there is that the two main characters have very, very little dialogue throughout the movie, and I think that's probably one of the things that makes it so powerful. Would you agree?
Yeah, I actually really like Wall-E, because when you or whoever put the poll out, or the suggestions, fan suggestions, like what's your favourite, wee bit of foreshadowing there, I was so baffled by the fact that Wall-E wasn't like getting as many votes, and every website I went on that rated the top Pixar movies, Wall-E was always number one. It's such a great story. It's Thank you.
There we go, lads. There we go.
I really like it because it actually tells like a story that I wouldn't say I'm fearful of, but I'm not a fan of the way technology is progressing and the way that the planet's going as well. And it really touches on that. And to get it in a kids movie is just, I don't know, amazing.
So would that be your favourite as well, or have you got another favourite?
Well, I wouldn't say it was my favourite, but I do like it. I would think my two favourites. I would have said, if you had asked me before Toy Story 4 came out, I would have said Toy Story every day of the week. But Toy Story 4 is just the worst film I've ever seen in my life. I'm putting it out
Worse
there.
than Suicide Squad?
Suicide Squad.
It's so bad. It's worse than Suicide Squad. It's terrible. It's so bad. I don't know why they needed a fourth one. I was so angry when I was watching it in the cinema. I almost got out and walked away. I was so angry. The third one ended so well. There was no need for a fourth one, but we got it. And Forky, honestly, I've never met a worse character in my life.
Now
So-
Forky's always a character that's appeased to a lot of the younger generation, so arguably the generation we would have been when Toy Story came out. So I can understand why it's there, but I agree, I'm not a fan of Forky either.
Nah. There's a lot I would say about Forky, but I think this podcast would get taken off very quickly. So my favourite, I'm torn actually between The Incredibles. I thought Incredibles 1 and I thought Incredibles 2 was almost equally as good. Or Cars. If it wasn't for the fact Cars 2 is pretty rubbish. Cars 3 is quite good, but Cars 1 I thought was really good. So I think I'll say, purely because of Cars 2, I think I'll say Incredibles is my favourite film series in the Pixar universe.
Now, I might get some hate here. It took me quite a while to warm up to The Incredibles. I don't know why. It was just something that I couldn't find myself connecting to a lot. I feel as if it's quite slow as to where it needs to get to be. But when I got older, I began to appreciate it more. I don't know if maybe that's the same case for you, Adam, or if you enjoyed it from the outset of watching that film.
For me, I actually agree with you, Jack. It did take me a wee while to warm up to it. I remember seeing it at the cinema with my family, and I was just a bit... I think I'd been kind of blown away by a lot of other Pixar films and just films at the time, and I think it just didn't initially blow me away. I think maybe as I've got a bit older, it's something that I can appreciate, especially like the cinematography in it. I think, and just something to say for all Disney Pixar films, they all look amazing. Then you look at it, we're talking about A Bug's Life, that was 98, isn't it, I think? And that still today matches up with what's the latest one that just came out, Onwards. Like, you could put them beside each other and you would think like it's the same technology they had available 20 years ago, in a good way. But yeah, I think I'd agree with that. It did take me a while to warm up to it.
Also, Rhys, it's your favourite as well. So were you the same, or did you have an instant attraction to that movie straight away?
I think I did like it straight away. I don't know. I don't remember what age we were when it came out, but we were obviously quite young. I think I watched it on repeat on DVD, like Lewis did with A Bug's Life, but that was video because he's old.
Aye. Incredibles came out in 2004, by the way.
2004.
So we'd have been about 8.
Maybe you had to been 7, mate.
There, get on the old guy. Settle down, Carl.
Very good,
Yeah.
very good.
Not nice, is it, Jack? Not nice.
Adam and I, we're the young ones. Adam's the youngest. He's just a child, But anyway,
Adam went to see his movies and school trips. That's what he did.
I wish. We were going to school trips to boring places. Bannockburn and stuff. give me Incredibles or Bannock Burn any day.
I got
Great,
Stewart.
Adam. Great, Adam. We've just lost the Bannockburn audience.
Hey, carry on, Rhys.
Yeah, I think I took an instant like to it, and I think that like's never gone away. And I remember playing the Incredibles game on the Nintendo DS, and I think I completed it about 5 times. I honestly loved it. I was obsessed with it. So yeah, I think I liked the Incredibles straight away.
Now, my favourite Pixar games, Toy Story on the PS1, because you can just wander about Andy's house and just do what you like. So they're just like kind of being Buzz Lightyear and just, I don't know, just being able to do anything I really enjoyed. But also Cars on PS2, because it was like a sequel to the movie. Because it was obviously had the characters from the movie, but you didn't follow the plot of the movie. You did your own piston cup, and you just did jobs around Radiator Springs and just tried to help the town get popular again. I proper enjoyed that.
It is arguably the best game of all time. Not arguably, it is the best game of all time. I completed it. It came out and I completed it that weekend because I couldn't get off it. It was so good. And it was the same with the Incredibles game. That was actually like kind of a sequel as well, because the game started with the Underminer coming out of the ground. So it's like it took off where the movie ended. So it's kind of like a sequel. So it's similar to that. So both excellent games and excellent movies.
The Incredibles PS2 game was incredible. It was better than the DS game, and it's better than the Cars game. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Oh, no, the Cars game was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. I watched a video of someone going back to play the Cars game. Like, he must have made the video like a year ago, and he was like, it kind of stands up like it could be like a kind of average Xbox One racing game. But so I don't know that it took that way well, I guess.
There was a Bugs Life PS1 game as well. I am sure about that. I remember playing it. I think. I'm just pulling this out of my... Yeah, no, there was. Yeah, I remember it now.
I was one when A Bug's Life came out, so I didn't quite play PlayStation at that point.
Yeah, I'm showing my age there, playing PS1 in 1998.
But Adam, we've not found out your favourite movie yet, unless it's Brave, and I'll give you the same comment that it's go figure, it's the same movie as your girlfriend, it's just her favourite.
Oh.
I think Jack's upset that he can't partake in this episode. He's decided just to insult across the play here.
I'd say for me, my favourite Pixar film, I think I probably want to go with WALL-E, like Stewart said, but in effort to be original, I'll say Monsters Inc. Although I'd say WALL-E is like right up there. WALL-E's probably, if anything, number 2. But Monsters Inc. That's my film that I remember watching a lot when I was younger. I'd seen it. I'm pretty sure I'd seen it at the cinema, and then had the video. I had a VHS as well, and watched that non-stop. I think I got emotionally invested just as much every time. That's the way Sully and Mike Wazowski, they're just the characters of my childhood. I wish they were my pals. In a way they are now.
What did you think of Monsters? What did you think of Monsters University?
I really enjoyed Monsters University. I wouldn't say it stands up to Monsters Inc. as like an all-time great, but I think it's kind of in for ranking Disney Pixar films, and you've got your Monsters Inc., your WALL-E's, Incredibles at the top. I think it comes, and I don't know what I'm putting at the bottom, maybe Toy Story 4. Probably we're sitting, I'd say somewhere in the middle, just like, it's like 12th, 13th place. It's not beating out any of the all-time greats, but I think it's a solid, good film, enjoyable as well, I think, which it kept a lot of the same humour from Monsters Inc., but transferred it to an environment quite well, I thought.
Yeah, I agree. I actually really liked Monsters University. I thought it got a lot of criticism as well, but I think that just kind of happens with sequels. Yeah. It's not like the Cars 2, which was just way off-brand from Cars 1. It kind of stuck in line with Monsters Inc., and I actually really enjoyed it. Back to you, Jack.
Aye, thank you. Thanks for coming back. We've gone through the panel and we've found out what their favourite Pixar movies is, but now we get on to the task of what this podcast is all about. We are the Big Picture, and they are going to be big pitching their ultimate Disney crossover Pixar movie thing. So they've been tasked to have 2 movies to cross over and to make it as plausible as possible to have their own movie with it. And before we get on to doing that, I have made a promise to someone. Rhys Cook, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here, Jack. Yes,
I have made a promise to Rhys Cook because he's vented many a time that he's never got to pitch first, so he always feels at a disadvantage. And I feel that I need to continue that. Stewart, pitch straight away, please.
Are you for real?
I'm kidding. Don't. No, don't.
Oh no! Oh no!
I feel like we should preface this as well. There's like a really big advantage to going first. We're all terrified our stuff's going to get taken away, so Rhys has a massive advantage here.
I've never been
My
more scared of a
heart
pitch.
just honestly left my body. I was just going to start crying. For the whole week, Jack's been telling me, Rhys, you can go first this week. You've not had a chance to go first yet. You can go first, it'll be fine. And I'm like, brilliant. First time I get to go first. I think I've got a good pitch. I'm really excited. I don't have a backup pitch. And just when he's in Stewart there, I really did want to start crying.
Well, now that I've got your heart all going and your emotions sky high, yeah, give us your pitch. Hope I've not knocked you off course on doing this.
Well, yeah, you've taken the momentum away, but I'll try and fix it. When Jack said this at the start, like, this is what we were doing, I was like, right, brilliant, I'm going to write this massive pitch. And I was going down the Stewart route, not golden balls, but I was going to write this big plot. So I had this plot, and it was about 10 paragraphs long. It was really in depth, and Jack was like, no. I obviously didn't show them it, but Jack was like, no, it has to be quite short. So I've managed to break every paragraph into like 1 or 2 lines. So I'll try and back through it as quick as possible, right? So at the end of my crossover, right, it's going to be Monsters Inc. University universe is crossing in with the Incredibles universe. If anyone's got that, I'm sorry to say, unlucky.
Thanks,
Sorry, I'm safe. I'm safe.
Okay, so the Incredibles 2 ends with supers becoming legal again, and Monsters Inc. ends with Sully and Mike being like the new top guys. They've worked their way from the bottom to the top, right? So my one starts, Randall's back, okay? And he's planning to expose monsters to the humans to get back at Monsters Inc. and like Mike and Sully and all that for like chucking them out in their universe, right? It breaks into Monsters Inc. and leaves a door open for the humans to come in, and that's when Jack just strolls his way in, right? Monsters Inc. is in dire straits, so the media and the TV, monsters aren't scary anymore. The kids, they see all these things on TV, and I know that Monsters Inc. ended with them laughing at the monsters instead. That made more energy, but there's only so long that Mike Wazowski can do a bit before it just stops being funny. So we're back in the scary grind, and they come in early. They notice the door open, and the Power family's there, obviously like the Mr. Incredibles and that. They're there, and they start obviously getting in a fight, and then eventually Mike breaks up the fight, and then Sully has this like breakdown. He's like, we're in a terrible position. We're running out of money. We can't really power the monster universe right now because we're doing so poor. And then Mr. Incredible breaks down, and he's like, yeah, we're finding it difficult as well. Supers have become legal again, but as anything that happens in politics these days, a lot of people still aren't accepting us, and we're kind of being ostracized a bit. And that's a wee homage to men's mental health and toxic masculinity. We're promoting men talking out about their problems, which I think is a good topic. And I think Pixar, they pick up like big topics like that, like climate change we were talking about earlier. They pick up on big topics like that. So anyway, they have the big heart to heart, and it's emotional, but they get it through that. And then they team up together. They scour through the monster universe to find Jack. Whilst doing that, the Incredibles media, the media in the Incredibles universe, they're reporting that the Power family have been kidnapped by monsters. But more on that later. So Sully and Mike help the Power family find Jack, and Randall has him. Who'd have thought it? Oh, Randall, what a guy. So anyway, they're fighting off with him, and he's I haven't got the details worked out here, but in some way he was threatening to harm him or throw him into a door or something like that. Classic Randall vibes. Anyway, out of nowhere, Randall gets knocked down. Boom. Who is it? Boo. Whoa. Who'd have seen that coming? No one. So then, the Power family and the Monster family, they have the heart to heart. They thank each other for helping them. And then when the Power family go back to their universe, they're on the news and they're like, yep, we were kidnapped by monsters and it was so scary, that this thing can happen everyone needs to be more vigilant. The only reason we managed to get away with them is because we had our superpowers, and that was the only way we got through. So then, from now on, supers are now respected by the public in their universe because they're all like, well, we need these guys to protect us from monsters. And the monsters are able to scare people better now because the Parr family have told their universe about how scary they are. So their monster energy is, not the drink, is way better now. And they managed to get Monsters Inc. back up and running and at the forefront of its game. How it ties into the Pixar theory? Well, there was a theory that Boo might be Violet. There's also a theory that Boo might be the witch in Brave, but my one ties into Boo and Violet because you never see the two of them in the same room. So there you are. Monsters Inc. Incredibles. That's my pitch.
I really do. I wasn't expecting it. I thought there would be a recurring theme of a particular film. I'll say at the end because that film would have been my pitch as well. But I wasn't expecting the Monsters Inc. Incredibles crossover, and I think it is really good. I actually enjoy that. The whole idea of Randall causing havoc and then Jack going through the door, and it's allowing the crossover between the two. Aye, well done, Rhys. Well done.
Thank you. I thought it was quite good too.
It was. I guess that. The rest of them are quite happy that they let you go first now because I don't know if they would have had the same pitch, but we'll find out. Stewart, you're up next, my friend, as the defending champion. Give us your pitch.
Okay, I'll just say before I do my pitch, I liked Rhys's pitch. That was a good pitch. Like, I love Randall. Randall was. I remember going to the cinema, like I said, to see Monsters Inc. and I loved Randall. He was such a good villain. I will, like, one point of contention I will say is, did you say that at the end of the movie you bring back scaring the kids?
Yes.
See, I feel like that kind of undoes the ending of Monsters Inc. though. I feel like the whole
point. He said
during
the start of his pitch though that they found that laughing wasn't going to be a sustainable way of keeping up the energy because
I know, but
tired.
I feel like undervalues the message of like Monsters Inc. Like it's more powerful to laugh, to feel laughter than to feel fear. I don't know that, but I did really like your pitch. You did obviously a lot of time and effort into it, so I really did enjoy it.
Thanks, Stuart.
He's just game playing, Rhys. Just game playing.
Yeah. Sure, I take into consideration what you've said. Lewis and Adam, do not take into consideration what Stuart just said.
I'm actually on Stuart's side because at the end of Monsters Inc. they find that the laughter is actually more powerful than fear. So
we've already addressed this.
I know everyone
laughter is more powerful, but Mike Wazowski's not funny. I mean, I just don't see what part you're not getting here.
Everyone knows that when you go to see a sequel, the first thing you like the sequel to do is undo the last thing that happened in the film before. Everyone likes that.
True.
Right.
Got me there. Got me there.
Exactly.
Anyway,
what's your pitch?
My pitch, and again, my heart was in my throat when Rhys going first, but thankfully he's not touched my pitch. My pitch will be crossing my personal favourite movie, WALL-E, with Inside Out. And the whole movie will be a prequel to WALL-E because it'll be how the first robot gained sentience and independent thought. Because obviously watching WALL-E, the robots obviously have personalities and they do have independent lines of thinking and the ability to fall in love. So that's got to be some kind of emotions that they are capable of. So I want to examine how that came about, what kind of happy accident caused these robots to have emotions, and you'll see like the birth of the first emotion in a robot, and then so you'll have that level of the film, which will be the internal emotions, like as in Inside Out for Riley, and then you'll have the wider scope of the movie, which is dealing with the first robot that has gained sentience. So it'll kind of be like this robot learning about emotions and how they evolve and evolving into the other base emotions that they have, like happy, like joy, anger, sadness, and everything like that. But then obviously it'll probably be a bit standard. You'll have the governments will be like, we've got the first robot, what do we do with this? Somebody will try to protect the robot from being used by the military want the robot for examination, etc. So I don't want to get too in depth with it, but that's my pitch. It's WALL-E crossing with Inside Out.
It's another one that I just didn't expect because I thought there would be the same movie in this recurring theme, but that also makes like that could also be plausible and really good. That the idea of exploring how the emotions came about for the robots, and you can go to like joy and sadness and whatnot. How they're looking about it. So, I like that as well. Stuart, well done.
Thank you.
I don't.
Who doesn't like it? Who doesn't
I don't like it. It's a prequel to Terminator. The robots are going to take over, kill us all. I don't want them to have sentience.
Listen, who
Did you
knows?
ask, Stuart? Did you ask? I didn't ask. Did you ask?
Who knows that Terminator's not a sequel to Wall-E? There's time travel.
Big brain.
Yeah, that's pretty much my pitch.
Okay.
So that's two that I feel is really good, and it's getting to the final point of the fear of who's going to have the same pitch as each other, and I haven't really decided, to be honest, boys, who's going to go next. So I'm just going to flip a coin.
I'm scared.
Well, seeing as you hosted last week, do you want heads or tails?
I'll call heads.
It's heads. On you go.
Oh, yes. I get to go first. Fantastic. Sorry, Adam, if I screw this over for you.
I'm sure you'll be alright.
He's very confident. I'll give him that. So, my pitch will be a combination of Cars.
Oh, yes, all right.
Oh my god.
Cars and Monsters, Inc.
Whoa.
And Monsters, Inc. will be the main movie for this. So obviously with like certain crossovers, like one is like the main focus, the other one's the side story type deal. Monsters, Inc. will be the main one here. So when we left Monsters, Inc., we found out that laughter is a better energy source than fear and scream. And it's a very important message in that movie, and mine will be the same. Not that particular message.
Get up, you Rhys.
We'll have an important...
Yeah, I see why you are picking up on that now.
Yeah.
I don't worry, I've got plenty to say about this theory already.
Okay. Anyway, life is good in Monsters Inc. Land, or whatever it's called. I can't remember, or if it even has a name. Anyway, following from the discovery of this energy source. However, buried deep inside of this factory is an old door, or I guess a garage door for continuity purposes. They power it up, and Sully, being the brave one, he's like, you know what? I'm going to go through this and find out what's on the other side. And who's on the other side? Lightning McQueen. And then you can just cue the comedy screaming and revving going back and forth. But
wow.
Yes.
The crux of the tension, though, for this movie to kind of take off is between the energy that McQueen created when he was scared by Sully is more powerful than anything they've ever heard of before, including laughter. And as a result, this is causing a bit of an uproar within the company and the community because they kind of want to go back to this old energy because it's clearly better. You know, old ways die hard, I guess. But Sully and Mike don't like the idea. Now that they're in charge, like, no, we don't want to go back to using fear gangs. It's not good for us. And they take it upon themselves to go and try and warn the world of Cars and maybe try and find a new way. So they both go through the garage door again. Really, I probably could have come up with something better than a garage door, but hey, that's what we're going with. And they develop a sort of budding friendship, slowly starting to trust, but it's obviously very difficult based on the first interaction as well as appearances with Sully. I mean, it's Monsters and Cars. There's going to be a bit of a distrust going over there. McQueen talks about it to the media, saying that like this had happened to him, and he gets ostracized and critiqued, and people don't really take him seriously. And then these monsters come back and start to kind of see that there's some truth to what he's saying, and redeems him, proves him right. Anyway, it's a bit of a side story. Turns out the Cars world is struggling with energy. You know, a world of cars, fossil fuels is only going to last so long. However, with Sully and Mike and McQueen, they start developing a way of renewable energy sources for both of their respective worlds. And that's the important message of the movie, is the importance of saving the environment and developing renewable energies and working together despite differences. Slowly the movie builds up, they start developing on teams, they go back to their own worlds, and that's the end of it. I'm also pitching that the fake blooper reels get added to the end and animated, because I love them so much at the end of the Pixar movies.
Yes, I do enjoy them, but I also quite like that as well. I didn't think it was going to go that direction because I just thought that the Cars world and the Monsters Inc. world would be like one and the same. So there's that point in Monsters Inc. when they're walking to work and they're waiting at the zebra crossing and these Mike's just talking to a car. I thought, that would have worked, but I do like the direction you went as well. But obviously, Rhys, you said you wanted to have a go at this.
Well, I was just thinking in Cars 2, there's a picture on the wall of the Brave family, but in there, they're all cars. So Cars clearly exists within a different universe. I mean, there could be Cars alternatives of the monsters, but there's no people or anything in Cars. It's just cars.
So
I'm
this
not
is
having that you can walk through. And also, you
Oh,
agreed that scaring is the best method. So thank you very much.
right. So
Now to my pitch.
I'll address
I'm not
those 2
interested.
points. We'll do the second one first. It wasn't that scaring
I have
was
a
a better
third
source.
point.
It was the
I have a
fact
third
that
point to just throw in.
McQueen revving was the better source. That he's happened to be scared. It's his engine is literally more powerful than someone screaming, which I thought would be a fair way to work around that. As for the theory itself, I know Adam said he liked it. I don't. The version that I read, it works on the timeline between Brave first giving the world magic to animals, which then creates superheroes, and then magic transfers into inanimate objects. You get Toy Story, and that then develops again into animals, and you get Finding Nemo, Ratatouille, etc. And then Up is like the crux where it ends, and then move on to Cars because they gain sentience. Then you get Wall-E, and then Earth dies out, and you get Bugs Life. They start getting sentience. The world's anew. Those bugs then evolve into Monsters Inc. Like, that's the theory that I've read here, the PixarTheory.com. I don't buy it. It seems too complex for what it is, but that's what I've based this off of. And they say that Monsters Inc. works because the doors are a combination of machines and monsters working together to create time travel. So yeah.
To be fair, that was the reason I used Monsters Inc. as well, because it was the easiest way to get the two worlds into the same world. Pretty much.
That's part of the reason why I use Monsters Inc. But also, I really wanted to hit home this point of renewable energies because I think it's something that's quite current and really needs to be focused on. But that's specific.
Yeah, well,
Stewart had a point as well, didn't he? Stewart had something to say about another third point. Sorry to cut you off there, Rhys.
I just wanted to say before that I touched upon men's mental health. So if you don't vote for me, then you're pretty much saying no to men's mental health. So you guys are pretty bad people.
Jesus.
Yeah, how
Anyway,
to gain
sure.
support for a social cause, peer pressure and fear.
Anyway, yes, back to Lewis's film. Let me just check my notes here. Lewis, will you be calling this movie Monster Trucks?
No.
Oh,
Lewis,
you've
you just threw away a vote.
3 votes.
You just threw away a vote.
I hadn't actually even thought about a name. We'll go with Monster Trucks then. Yeah.
I really liked your
Doesn't
garage
count.
door. I liked your garage door. I was like, I like that garage door. And then you were like, oh, well, I'll come up with something smarter than that garage door. So you just insulted me. So you won't be getting that vote either.
I was like, the thing is, the Monsters Inc. world is like all of the actual technology seems to develop around doors. And I thought, well, how can I kind of work this? But then I figured you could probably jerry the technology and connect it to any door, surely. So yeah, garage door. I don't know. It seemed like a cop out because of just using cars, garage door. It seemed like too obvious a connection to make, and maybe I am not giving the credit it deserves where you clearly did, and I apologize.
I accept your apology.
Right, so Adam, you're the final pitch, and I'll say this. This is the first episode that I've liked every single pitch that's been presented, so don't ruin that.
Well,
Yeah, how dare you like Rhys's pitch?
No, I meant how have you not liked the pictures in the previous episode, Stuart?
Fortnite
Anyway.
planes? Come on, Jack.
Right.
The episode.
I agree with you, Jack. I think the pitch is very strong. Really had we've picked a few holes in them, but I think when you're trying to put two movies together and establish universe, sometimes you've got to take a bit of artistic license. So I'm not going to take anything away from the other guys' pitches because I think they're really good. Now, if Lewis had started with his second film he was pitching when he said it, my heart would have jumped. But thankfully, he started with Cars, which I got involved in mine, so I was happy. But for me, I'm going to pitch Brave and Monsters Inc. And we're going to lean quite heavy in the Pixar theory here. Rhys kind of mentioned it, that Boo is the witch in Brave, which the theory behind that is just simply, it's like Lewis said, it's time travel with the doors, and we know that the witch in Brave moves through she uses doors to teleport. She quite often in the film 3 or 4 times she goes through a door, she comes out somewhere else, or just, well, we don't know where, but she goes somewhere else. So, and also to go to the witch's house, it's the one door, but then one time Merida opens it and it's not her house, it's just nothing. So and also she has a carving of Sully in her room. So the theory is that she's found magic, tried to use it to get to the future, which is where we think the monsters are. She was unsuccessful. She's ended up stranded in the past. And there we go. So now we've established that. I'd like to get opening scene. We're in the witch's hut. We pan over. We see the wood carving of Sully. And maybe you didn't see it if you've seen Brave, because it does come up quickly, so it gets a bit longer. So just as the audience starts to click, that's Sully. That's funny. Why is that? Why is he there? It pans further. We get a chest. But it's got multiple padlocks on it. It's a very secure chest, but it's lying open. And spilling out of it is Boo's costume from Monsters Inc. So suddenly, we're clicking. Suddenly that's it. And that stroke there, I mean, the audience now knows that the witch is Boo from Monsters Inc. Then we cut to the witch, or Boo, as I'll be calling her, and she is working over a cauldron. She's trying on magic. She's sweating. There's a door. She's working on it. She's painting things on it. She's using the door frame. She's just this one last try. She just really wants to get. She wants to meet Mike and Sully again. She misses them, and then finally it happens. The door opens. Mike and Sully come through, and she sees them, and the love and the joy she feels overwhelms her. She's laughing. They're hugging. They can't believe it. They can't believe they've seen after all these years. But it's too much energy. It spills over, and it's not just her door that's open to the monsters world. It's every door in Scotland, we'll say. And suddenly, loads of monsters spill through, and it's not just scarers. Well, I suppose it'd be jesters since they'll be using laugh energy. But it's people who aren't even. It's not their job. They're just the male guys, if you want, from the Monsters universe. So they're terrified. They're this total other world. They're not prepared. They've never been in the humans world before. So naturally, it all kicks off. All the warriors in Scotland are terrified, and they're like, there's fights kicking off. They're hunting them down. They're trying to. No one knows what to do. So the witch, she thinks the only person who's got any kind of experience apart from me here, Merida. She's local. Gets her along. We see Merida. She's a bit older. And they're like, we got to track them down. They talk with Mike and Sully. Like, what's the best way? Like, we don't know. Maybe if we just round up all the monsters, we get the humans, like, we make sure they don't get involved. We keep them scared of the monsters. And then we can try and work out how to get back home. And it's not happening. They try and cord them off. It's not working. Then they realise, they talk to each other, and they realise that they're not that different, really. Mike and Sully aren't that different. Sully, in a way, it reminds her of his big safety. It reminds her of her dad. And she's like, we're really... And as Merida often does, she sees through things quicker than the adults do. And she's like, no, that's not the best strategy. It's to be friends. So she takes Sully with her and goes to talk to her family and the rest of her clan. The witch, Boo, goes away with Mike Wazowski, and they go talk to the monsters that they've gathered up. And they manage, just for having an actual conversation, they realise that the thing is they're just as scared of each other. The reason they've not been able to, they've been fighting and run away from each other is because they're both terrified. The humans, they can't work out why a monster would be terrified of them. The monster can't work out why a human would be terrified of them. These guys, these people are terrifying. They're nothing like the humans they've seen in drawings or whatever. So then they realise they managed to gather up all the monsters, all the humans in a hall, the great hall we've seen. There's silence, there's tentative steps, they're looking at each other. Suddenly the fear gives away because they start to realise that they see the same fear. They are feeling reflected back from the monsters and from the humans. Then there's a tentative step across. One young human goes across, sees a young monster, introduces himself, breaks the tension. They come back together. Merida, Mike, Sully, they're all watching on. Boo realises that this is her chance to send them back. There's so much joy, there's so much laughter. This energy, she harnesses it, she puts it in the door. The door opens. The monsters start to go back through. Some of them, they've taken scraps. They've given big wee tartan scraps, little daggers and stuff, little souvenirs to take back. they're going to miss them. You know, they've made fast friends. They've realised that, you know, humans aren't that bad after all. And then Boo, she's ready to send Mike and Sully back. She knows she'll never see them again. And then Merida turns to her and says, "You go with them." She realises that she can. She's worried at first. She thinks, I've got things to do. People come to me, and Merida's like, "No, this is more important. This is what you started doing magic for." Sully takes one arm, Mike takes the other. They walk through the door slams shut. Then Merida runs up, tries it. It's back to being a normal door. They're gone, but we've all learned a good lesson about friendship. How friendship can overcome anything. And to not be scared of differences. That's my big pitch.
Well, we're not friends after that pitch, because that went far too long.
Adam, I tell you what was wrong with it. If every door was open, why is there no, just like even like one scene with the abominable snowman in it? I mean, I was waiting for it the
Very
whole
true.
time.
I mean, you can even go into Messi.
Yeah. You're saying it's went on too long. You want me to get some fan service in there. The fan service was it's included. I don't think I had to mention it. I knew I was going on a while. I got quite caught up in it. I'm quite happy with that. I don't, thoughts of the group.
Well,
Right, so
Jack's not letting us give our thoughts, but that's probably for the best.
All I know is, man, I gave you guys way too much credit when I was worried about my pitches like this. I'm joking. I'm joking. You guys had good pitches.
I will say the commonality I thought everyone would have had is Toy Story.
I thought that's what you were thinking, but I just couldn't see how it would bring it in with anything.
The one thing away you could have brought it in is easy because you could have used Andy or the wee girl that becomes who has like the toys at some point. You could argue they go on holiday somewhere and they could end up in Paris and be with like the Ratatouille people, or the toys could be like with Bug's Life, for example.
Yeah,
like, there's a lot of way to incorporate Toy Story more.
Also,
I'm glad
Jack,
I never got that.
But also, Jack, Toy Story 4 was flipping terrible. And we don't need a fifth one.
Very true. But,
that is true.
Just so I want you all to submit your favourites, and I'll just do a wee recap. So Rhys is Monsters Inc. and Incredibles, and that's like Randall is causing havoc, and the doors are left open. Jack goes through, and the Incredibles help to restore peace within the monsters' world, and they negotiate an idea of getting energy to be their best. That fair to say, Rhys?
Yeah, it's good. And also men's mental health.
Thank you. Stewart's with Wall-E and Inside Out. It's a prequel to Wall-E. It's how the first robot gains independent thought and emotions, and you get to see joy and sadness and all that throughout.
Also, robot male mental health.
We've got Lewis with Cars and Monsters Inc., where Sully finds the old garage door and scares the bejesus out of Lightning McQueen that generates more power than what laughter's been, and they work together as they find out the Cars world is lacking in energy and find a new renewable energy source.
Yep, and toxic masculinity and mental health.
Interesting. That's a good
mental health.
Car mental health.
Take your car to the garage, make sure it gets its therapy.
That was just an MOT.
Yes, that's the joke.
I get it.
And that's the joke.
And Adam with Motors Inc. and Brave, she puts her Boo costume on and opens a door and finds Mike and Sully.
Whoa, where'd you get the costume on?
No, the costume was on the floor, Jack. She was naked. Did you not get that?
Oh, of course. Right. Well, she finds her costume in this marble padlock chest and opens a door that she's been trying to open for ages and finds Mike and Sully. But the energy that's created from that causes all the doors in Scotland to open, and all the monsters fall through, and they're all fear each other, but they'll find a way to all become friends. Is that right?
Yeah, that sounds good. Friendship and also monster mental health.
No, I've already covered that part. So you got witches mental health. That's what you're thinking.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Also,
just to be clear, well, it's a run-in joke. We do take mental health seriously, and make sure if you feel you need to talk to anybody, talk to somebody.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that there. That's good. But please submit all your entries as I go through the fan favourite Pixar movies that I've tasked myself to go out and get. We've got a lot. We have a lot of pitches. Pitches, fan favourite, sorry. Ryan O'Gleish, our music man, and I'll just say this now. Thanks again, Ryan. You've done some outro music for us, which will feature at the end of this episode, so listen to that. I find him on his SoundCloud at Deep Crimson Dub and all sorts. You know, he's our guy. He's arguably the sixth man of the Big Picture podcast, so thank you, Ryan.
Deserves a huge credit.
Two folk I've got down as Cars is their favourite movie, Holly M, and my brother Jordan Graham. He'll stand in that hill to the day's die that Cars is one of the best films ever, and I kind of respect it in a way. It's one that feels definitely underappreciated. Toy Story is a favourite of Colin Moore from Get Down Football News. We've got Stephen Wilson and Ross McLeod from Each Sleeps with a Perpetual Tweet. Andrew Hardy, Blair Miller, but Blair also says Brave's a close second. Only one person put The Incredibles being their favourite. That was Neve Faris. I'm sure you're a bit taken aback by that, Rhys, just having one.
I can't believe it, but she's got a great taste, so fair play to her.
Sophie Taylor, Megan Honnold, and Stefan Berkevich all think Monsters Inc. is their favourite, but Stefan's also added that The Good Dinosaurs class. Bog's Life's also a personal favourite from The Shelter as well. We've got Sarah Deans and Grant McRobbie from Each Sleeps with a Perpetual Tweet as well, with Up being their favourite. Laura McLaughlin, her favourite's Coco, with Brave falling into the favourites of Lucy Connolly and Fleur Bogard. I hope I pronounced your name right. Stuart's girlfriend, I said Robin, her favourite is Wall-E. Christopher Donald and first-time film host David Campbell's favourite's Inside Out. And I keep an eye out on the feeds between the two there. You know, we might have some stuff with Inside Out coming soon, so I keep an eye out for that. And Paul McCallum's favourite's Finding Nemo. And Adam's allowed one of his friends to come in with 5 favourites for some reason, which is Tommy Smart's got Wall-E, Toy Story, Inside Out, Monsters Inc. and Up. So thank you very much for all the submissions. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah,
as much as the team do as well.
Thanks everyone for putting in their fan favourites.
Yeah, we love to chat to you.
I'm so surprised that Coco only got 1 vote, because whenever I've ever heard anyone talk about it, they've always said it's a top tier film. So I'm surprised I only got 1 vote.
It really is. Coco's fantastic. Like, I actually had a backup pitch that had Coco, and it, honestly, if you have not seen Coco, it's amazing. It's a really, really good Pixar movie.
No, the pictures. I've just bit my finger. The pictures have came in, and unfortunately, Lewis, no one likes the involvement of cars, so you're not included in this. There's a tie.
Lewis, I was thinking before all this started, if anyone puts Cars in, I'm not going to vote for them, because I can't picture in my head Cars, Lightning McQueen interacting with anyone from a different universe. So that was literally the only reason.
So you had a preconceived notion and decided to allow that to affect how good a pitch could be. I'll remember that.
Yeah, clearly it was a great pitch. That's why I got so many votes. Shut
up. So, Rhys and Stewart are tied at 2 votes apiece.
I changed my vote.
Well, no, you didn't let me change my vote.
I tried this last week and it never happened. I wasn't allowed, so I'm not going to say anything, so I don't want it to interfere in any way, but I want to use 60 seconds each. I'll go to Rhys first to tell me why I
went first for the first one, so I think it would be fair if Stuart went first this time.
That's fair enough.
God.
You were tied last time, weren't you? I think so.
That's the first time I've been tied.
Before. No, it was me and Adam before.
That's what it was. So, Stuart, 60 seconds, tell me why the winner of this episode should be the Wall-E Inside Out crossover.
When do I go?
No.
No. Okay. So Wall-E, obviously it's a prequel. It's all about how the first robot gains sentience, and it's going to be the first emotion. It's going to be emotion by emotion. So it's not going to get them all immediately, but it's going to get one emotion, and it's all about coming to terms with that. And it's really good on a personal level for kids watching it, because it's all about recognizing your own emotion, which you do as you get older, and how to deal with these new emotions that you don't know how to deal with. On a thematic level, there'll be climate change. You can obviously deal with these. I mean, the corporation, by and large, that can have an analogy for Disney and how they're trying to, they're a corporation that's got a lot of fingers and a lot of pies, and how they influence culture. They can be dealing with the energy crisis and everything like that. These robots are meant to be slaves to deal for humanity, but it's all about them rising up on a personal level and what humanity can do to help robots, which we can also do an analogy for all things that are not human, how we can help the wildlife, how we can help the environment and the planet. And how
That's a minute. You're done. Finito, I'm not
done.
letting you finish. I'm being cruel here. You only get the minute.
I love you, Robin, for voting Wall-E best movie.
Oh, simp! If that doesn't win me,
Stuart.
Honestly,
You've actually shot yourself in the foot.
I love my girlfriend.
Right, Rhys, you've got a minute. Starting now.
my one is obviously talking about key themes. There's a good twist with Randall being involved again, because obviously everyone loves Randall. He's a great character. There's play on the Easter egg with Boo and Violet not being in the same room together. I know there's the theory that Boo is the witch, but there's also the theory that Boo is Violet because they wear the same clothes, same hair, and all that. So there's that, plays on that. Also, a great theme of men's mental health. I think that everything that's in Stewart's one, it's a great idea, but it's all been talked about before in Disney Pixar films, like climate change and big industries and stuff like that. It's all been talked about before, whereas men's mental health actually is a really serious topic that hasn't been talked about. I know I was making jokes about how we should vote for it because of that, but it is actually a huge topic that I do think we should talk about, and I do think would be good to incorporate into a Disney film, a Disney Pixar film. And I just think that merging those two universes together is the most realistic because of the doors.
Whoa. I want to say that men's mental health has been dealt with in Pixar films. You've got Carl, whose wife is dead, and he deals with that emotion. You've got Marl in Finding Nemo, who's all about becoming a single parent and fearing for his child and everything like that. So I feel like that has been done in Pixar movies as well.
Do they sit and have a conversation about it? Because my one, they do have a conversation about it, but they actually in Up, he just ignores it, and he befriends a young boy, which is quite frankly, skeptical. But yeah, it was a nice story. But he never actually talks about his feelings, which this encourages you to. But thanks, Stuart, for highlighting that. Anyway, Stuart's a simp as well.
So mine has robots.
What? You've had enough rebuttals.
We all heard what Stuart said at the end of his pitch.
That was after the timer was. That was not part of my 60 seconds.
I couldn't care less.
This sounds a bit desperate.
You would think that would have an effect on who I'm going to award this week's big picture on the Disney Pixar crossover. However, my mind was made up as soon as I heard the pitch straight away, because it's the one I enjoyed the most, and even though it came down to this tie-break situation, I was always going to make them the winner. So the winner of this episode of the Big Picture, our first time winner of the Big Picture, is Rhys Cook. Well done, Rhys.
Thanks. I really appreciate it.
Rhys, were you about to jump in?
No, I was generally about to say, my 1 minute, I was just going to be like, is there any point in doing this? Because every week when we have one of these, the person then goes, I'd already made my mind up. It didn't matter. But I really appreciate it. I did actually put a lot of time and effort into this, so it feels good to be rewarded.
I feel as if it's like out of everything. I liked every idea, but out of everything that being pitched, I could actually see that being a movie. I like the ideas that'd be good as maybe some sort of short or whatever, but that itself I feel could be a movie, and I would enjoy going to see that. So, yeah, how does it feel your first time ever being the champion?
I actually have a big smile on my face. I feel like the topics we've picked so far have just been a little bit out of my reach, and I did well to get to the playoff against Adam, but this one where I actually felt like I could contribute at the same level, it feels good. So I'm very glad.
And I've just came to the horrid realisation that I'm the only one that's not won an episode now. But I always win the people's vote, and I always want to win the heart of the people. So that's what matters. But Rhys, thanks for coming on today, and you're champion. You'll be defending your crown in the next episode, I'm sure. And I'm sure you want to become the. I don't know if it's been back to back before. No, this has been double champ.
I think I
Be
did.
back to back.
Back to back.
I think I've done back to back.
We
As a
can
table
go.
somewhere.
Has.
You can try go back to back to back. That's the task
No.
that you can have
Is
next.
But has anyone been champ and people's champ in the same episode? Maybe I could do that. Everyone vote for me at home. If you care about men's mental health, vote for me at home.
But commiserations to the rest of our panel. Adam, obviously you got no votes as well, but thanks for coming on anyway.
Well, it's not about the pitch; it's about taking part.
If I was taking part, I would vote for yours anyway. So Lewis, thanks for coming on. But again, commiserations for the 0 votes.
Yeah, whatever.
And Stewart, I thought a tightly close battle there, but you felt the last hurdle.
We did. Commiserations to myself, but congratulations to Rhys. That was a good pitch. He got my vote, obviously. It showed that it was the better pitch. Thank you for having us, Jack, being a good host.
Thank you, Stuart, as well.
You're very
Right,
welcome.
He's done getting together now. He's done
Get
picking
out,
each other up.
All right, Jack, half-time. Just because no one voted for your pitch this week.
Just because you have to rely on all the Twitter bots to vote for you.
That is what it is. I've got no comment on that. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. But yes, thanks everyone to listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. And enjoy Ryan's outro. Ta-ra.